Hello and welcome to Adult Writers Club. Today we're going to be talking about how to keep going. One of the hardest things in writing and the most daunting, honestly. I'm still working on it myself. I know a lot of techniques to get through, and I have finished several novels. Still working on the whole publishing bit, but that's mainly because a lot of the novels that I have finished are what people often tend to call trunk novels, which is where it's very, very in the beginning of your writing stages. So as a result, even if the novel's finished, it needs a lot of work before it's going to be published. With this, today we're going to be talking about continuing, but on May 25th is when our next meeting is going to be from the 8th, from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., May 25th, 2023. So don't forget that, please. I would love to see as many of you come as possible, but if not, I would also just love to get an email from you or get a comment or two down below on things you would like to see or things you enjoyed, just so that way I can get a little feedback about how to help you guys the best. Alright, and just going to jump right in then. First thing that I'm going to talk about seems obvious, but it's something that I think all of us need to work on, including myself, and that is trying to look for the good in your writing. A lot of us tend to be nitpicky, and even though it's important to do that when you finish, that's when you finish. You shouldn't be nitpicky up front with your own writing. Be kind to yourself and try to look for what you did right, not what you did wrong. Look for, hey, this fight scene was really great, not, oh, that kiss scene could have been better. Focus on what's positive about your writing, what keeps you writing, what you love about your writing, and your own style. With that, it helps to keep this positive relationship with your writing. If you're constantly beating yourself up when you're writing, then you're not gonna want to keep writing. Because if you keep trying to write and all you're doing is hurting yourself and being mean to yourself, you're not gonna want to keep going. But if you have this positive relationship with your writing where it's empowering to you and you feel good about it and you feel like you're accomplishing something important, then that is going to help you want to keep writing and want to move forward. The next thing that you can do is Google a place that you want to get published at and work off of their deadline. Deadlines can incredibly increase how much you write. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll finish, but it definitely helps give you more motivation. It gives you an outer thing. And so as a result, often a lot of publishing places, if you Google them, will say, hey, we're only accepting submissions in August. So you have to get your novel done before August. Or we're only selecting submissions during January. So you have to get it done before January. So as a result, that helps give you an external motivator. This external deadline will help you want to move forward even when you get stuck, because you're like, well, dang, it's December and I gotta finish it by January, and I'm 15 chapters away. That's gonna help you want to finish those 15 chapters faster than if you just said, I could write it tomorrow, because you have a deadline that you're not in control of. Oftentimes people say set your own deadlines, but I actually am against that. If it works for you, go for it. But the reason I'm against it is because of the fact that it is not external. And so you can push back your own deadline. And as a result of this often is what leads to procrastination, is you say, I will finish by May, and then May comes around and you're like, I was just super busy, I'll finish by July. And then you don't finish by July and you say, and so on and so forth. But if you have a publishing house that says, August, hard and fast, that's the rule, then it makes you a lot more motivated to stick to that deadline because you're not in charge of that deadline. They are. The next point that kind of goes with being kind to yourself is do not edit while you write. Editing is incredibly important and you need it, absolutely, but that is a post-product thing. You cannot edit a blank page. Unfortunately, I wish I had said that, but that is paraphrasing from another author. Cannot remember their name though, so you'll have to look that one up. But you cannot edit a blank page, and I love her wisdom on that. I believe it's a she. Because of the fact that you need to finish first. If you finish, then you can edit, absolutely, but you cannot edit while you write because it will only slow you down and give you that negative feeling about writing. It'll make you feel like all you're doing is causing problems and making more mistakes, and so as a result, you don't want to keep going. I highly recommend not editing while you're writing, unless you're doing a short story that is due in a week. That is the only time I say you should. And even then, I would say finish before you get it edited. You gotta make sure that the editing is post-production, not during. The whole point of writing a novel is finishing said novel. And so as a result of that, if you do not finish, you cannot edit. Just make that a hard and fast rule with yourself. You cannot edit until you finish. And that includes foreshadowing, that includes deleting characters, all that. Because of the fact that actually this is something authors do. Brandon Sanderson has mentioned several times in his podcasts that he puts in foreshadowing later. He doesn't go back and edit it while he's doing it. He waits until the whole book is done, and then he goes back and puts in foreshadowing. You wait till the book is finished before you fix things. Alright, the next point I'm going to mention is commit to writing either a certain amount of time or a certain amount, whichever gets you writing more. You could say, hey, I'm going to write from 8 to 9 a.m. or 2 to 3 p.m., whatever works for you and your schedule, and you just sit down during that time and you write. Just as much as you possibly can get out. Or, this might work better for you. I know it works better for me. You write a certain amount. So you go towards the goal of 1,000 words, 1,500 words, 2,000 words, whatever you need to get finished. But you write towards that certain amount. That way when you hit that amount, you feel very accomplished because you've hit your goal. Even if it's a small goal. It can just be 500 words. Just hit your goal. Write any time that the next thing that I'm going to say is with this is write any time that you are waiting. You may not realize it, but you spend a lot of your time waiting. I know I do. I wait at a train station, I wait at a bus stop, I wait for my classes to start sometimes, I wait in a doctor's office, I wait... Honestly, there are so many times I think I could just keep going, but I'm not going to. I'm just like, wow, I wait a lot. But that's my point, is we spend a lot of our life waiting for things, right? And instead of just sitting there waiting, staring off into space, looking at Instagram, what you could be doing while you're waiting is writing. And this is something that I do. When you're sitting in a doctor's office waiting for the doctor, instead bring your notebook or bring your phone and type it out on your phone. Or if you have a laptop, type it out on your laptop. Bring your laptop, your phone, your notebook, whatever you use to write everywhere with you. And then when you're waiting, pull it out and start writing. Whether it's, I know I prefer to do most of my writing at the train station because I usually end up waiting about 10 to 15 minutes for the train. Or I also, one of my favorites is doctor's offices, purely because you end up often waiting longer than you think you're going to. You know, the appointment's at 4:30 and the doctor's like not seeing you till 5:30 because for some reason something got backed up. Yeah, happens a lot, right? And so as a result, instead of just sitting there scrolling on Instagram the whole time, why not pick up your phone and instead pull open Google Docs and start writing? Just keep writing. And if you'll find that you get a lot more writing done if you do writing while you're waiting. That is actually how I finished my first trunk novel that is in heavy editing phases. I finished it by writing while I was waiting. Every time I was waiting for something, I would write. Irregardless of how much, it could be 2 sentences, it could have been 2 pages, I would write while I waited. And that helped me get that novel done, ultimately. The next thing I would mention is joining a writing group. Yay! You're halfway there by joining this little thing that we're doing right here. But ultimately, having an in-person writing group is phenomenally good for you. Yes, you can do online ones, but in-person ones, there's something about going in person, talking to people, and editing your stuff with them, and talking about writing, and geeking out about writing with them. And that is what we are going to be doing on May 25th from 8 to 9 p.m. at the American Fork Public Library, so please come. Join our writing group and get the benefit of my professional editing help and the benefit of being able to brainstorm with other people and talk with other people and geek out about your book with other people and have them help encourage you to keep going. The next thing that I'm going to mention is kind of similar in the regard that you need to change the scenery you're writing. Sometimes you always write in the same spot, right? On the couch, at the table, wherever it is. Sometimes your biggest writer's block is just feeling cramped. You could go outside and write. You could go to the bedroom and write. You could go, I don't know, find a different couch cushion to sit on. Just change it. Even if it's a slight change where you're writing, and that will help get those creative juices flowing again. You'd be surprised how much changing scenery can help. In some ways, that's why I advocate so hard for the writing while you're waiting, because you wait in so many different ways in so many different places that your scenery is constantly changing. Therefore, those creative juices are constantly being recharged by that change of scenery. This next one I actually thought was fascinating, and I really loved it. Remember why you started writing. Did you start writing because you love this story? Did you start writing because you wanted to write a story for your grandkids? Did you start writing because you want to write a story for your kids? Did you start writing a story because you wanted to write a story for your husband? Did you start writing because you absolutely fell in love with this particular fantasy novel and you wanted to do the same thing and you're so excited and you're going to college to get your creative writing degree? Everyone's story is different as to why you started writing. But try to keep that in mind when you're writing. Oftentimes we lose sight of why. We start with the why, and then ultimately the why fizzles out. Keep the why in your sights. Why are you writing? Why is it important to you? And make sure that it's something doable. Don't write for fame. Don't write for fortune. Write for your friends, for your family, for you, ultimately. That's my personal opinion. Because with the why of writing, it'll be that much deeper and that much richer if you're writing for you and helping you get through whatever you're going through, or helping someone else get through whatever they're going through. And it's going to change how you perceive yourself in your writing. The next thing that I'm going to mention is brainstorming. So this kind of goes with the writer's group thing a little bit, but not fully. You don't have to do brainstorming in a writer's group, but it can be helpful. So, with brainstorming, working on another writing project for a bit, those two kind of go together. Because with brainstorming, sometimes you're stuck, and so you can do one of those little, you may or may not have seen this in college, those little web things where they do a little circle and then they branch off and then another little circle, and it's like the idea and then the main character's over here, and then branch off with the love interest. If you want to see more of that, I have a brainstorming video in my teens writers class actually that I'll be posting on, that I posted on Monday. But with brainstorming, you can also write for another project for a bit, or brainstorm for another project. Just do a paragraph or like 10 minutes just to give you a break, because sometimes we get so locked into a world that we get stuck. And the best way to get unstuck is to, again, change the scenery, but this time you're mentally changing the scenery by writing a short story, or by working on a writing prompt, or by brainstorming for book 2. This can all help you move in a forward direction, even if it's not necessarily exactly the way you want it. Moving forward is what this is about. It's not necessarily about finishing. It's about continuing to move forward until you finish. The next thing that I'm going to mention is not punishing yourself. A lot of you guys think, oh, well, if I say I won't watch Netflix until I finish this chapter. Again, this is like the self-set deadline. You're like, or I could just watch Netflix while I write this chapter, and then you never get done. I wouldn't recommend punishing yourself, especially because then again, you are creating that negative relationship with writing. You don't want a negative relationship with writing. You want a positive relationship with writing. So don't punish yourself for needing to get writing done. Instead, reward yourself. Say, hey, if I finish this next 5 chapters within the next week or something like that, then I will go treat myself to whatever your favorite thing is. Whether it's, a bagel or a piece of ice or a scoop of ice cream, just treat yourself in some sort of small or significant, depending on the goal, way to help you feel motivated to move forward. If you continue to reward yourself for reaching your writing goals, you're going to create that positive writing relationship again. It's about creating a positive writing environment that makes it so that writing becomes your sanctuary, not a chore. All right, this has been Adult Writers Club. If there's anything that you liked about this video, please comment what you liked. If there are things you would like me to do in the future, please comment down below lessons you'd recommend I do. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on May 25th. Thank you so much. Bye.